All right, g'day everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Insite Podcast. We have an incredible guest today, changing the game and revolutionising how we see the Australian building code. Jerry Tyrrell, from the creator of Building Tools. Jerry comes from a bit of a background with architecture and consulting. Jerry, can you give us a bit more of an insight into your journey before creating tools, how this all came about?
Sure, Luke. And hi, Dean, and hi to everybody. I've had 5 decades learning and problem solving on building sites, on the drawing board, digging holes in the right place, even vibrating concrete in footings, getting falls in substrates before it was the right thing to do, priming end grain, all those little things, never using something that could rust, and listening to the songline of all of craft from people who knew a lot more than I did. Endless joy helping craftsmen build well.
I cut you short a little bit in the intro too, mate, because you've got a wealth of experience from building license, trades, architecture background as well, mate. It's quite extensive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, look, I've worked as a labourer, I've worked as a tradesman. I am a licensed builder, I'm an architect, I'm a mediator, I'm an author. I represent people too many times in defect claims and court matters. So I understand the joy of building, but I also understand too much of the misery.
So you've had a fair bit of experience there, mate. So I'm guessing there's a bit of a theme there when it's come to what you've developed with tools and reinventing the wheel, so to speak.
Yeah, look, I've probably given up on our industry fixing itself the way it should. So I've really taken a path on my own, and it's very nice to have people like you, and there are some other people who are committed to making change. And so I just think that it's overdue that we all stand together and we fix our industry.
Jerry, can you step us through a little bit on how does tools actually operate? What are the benefits of subscribing to the app? Give us a bit of insight on how this can really, really benefit people.
I suppose the essence of tools is I've channeled every possible craftsman, best practice, code, risk into an illustrated, integrated diagram of how to build without defects. It's ISO certified. I stress that we use pictures. Do you guys learn reading, or do you learn looking at diagrams and pictures?
Oh, I think definitely being on site, it's definitely a lot easier just to read a picture more than anything. Definitely, a picture tells 1,000 words, doesn't it?
I agree. And so if I stumble with the words, it's because I have a completely pictorial brain. And so I'm translating from images, my feelings, my impressions of you two. So that, and it also addresses poor literacy. It also addresses the skilled migrant issue as we try to get enough people to do the work. Pro users, that's people who have to pay money, which is not a huge amount, have a dual platform. They have an app and they have a desktop version. It's unlimited access. There are about 700 pages of detailed screens that contain between 10 and 30 high-risk values that we all need to know and find. You can zoom in, get more detail. You can click through to information. It's cited. So if you want to go back to 1340 and find out about water stop angle rules, you can go back and find that, but hopefully you'll never have to do that. We didn't do it anyway. We get into trouble. We wouldn't go back to 1370, 3740 because we couldn't find it. And so but we still can find those links to codes. Subscription just helps you do your job without mistakes or rework. The return on investment, the ROI of finding compliance faster and sharing loaves and the fishes is only the cost, basically, of a tax-deductible cup of coffee a week.
So, Jerry, obviously, looking at a picture compared to reading some of the confusing Australian standards, the NCC crosses over to a bunch of different references, but just going to read a little quote from yourself here. We're talking about the app tools in relation to basically everyone walking around that will have $10 million plus in their pockets. And it is that kind of simple. We've integrated tools in our business with Backman Builders. We've been integrating it into a digital library. I know Luke with Calorie Building as well runs something pretty similar, where we have a QR code on site. Anyone can grab their phone, hit the QR code, and we'll use tools to put, it might be sections. We've just done some cladding, we've done some veneer masonry, so we've set it up. There's some reels on our Build Insite Instagram where you can get in there and have a look at that. So one thing I'd love to know, mate, is I've dived into the app, but what actually goes on behind the scenes to build tools as an app and get it out there for the building industry?
What happens, so we've covered most areas of building construction that's covered by the NCC. And each tool, it's tool making, we call it. So what we'll do is that we'll grab all of the compliance issues, we'll grab the risk, we'll integrate best practice, and we will develop a model, a visual basic model. And then that gets evolved, and we check all the code compliance, and then the finished product is what you see. But you probably noticed it's got hotspots that you can click through, and obviously that if it's got a red circle to it, that's a high-risk item. You can click through to tables, you can click through to climate zone maps, you can then you've got links between different tools. And this is a problem with our regulators now. They give us siloed information. They give you issues about slip resistance, but they don't tell you about the wash on a stair tread. They don't tell you about cutting your nosings short so the water doesn't get caught behind. They don't tell you about terminations of a compliant handrail on a boundary, where your step comes to the boundary. What do you do? So we try to add all of those things together. It is an evolving story, but in most cases, the tool making delivers you those 300 tools with about 5 to 10 pages back end to each tool.
And just further that, we're talking about the hotspots, Jerry. So it'd probably be commonly known, biggest defects would be our bathroom shower leaks. We know a lot about balcony failures, but not every house has a balcony. I'm actually looking forward to further integrating that into our business with the bathroom side of things, and we're using great tilers and waterproofers and stuff that definitely at the top of their game. But I think that's the extra level that you guys are adding that's exciting from our side of things as a builder, to just give every single tradesperson this on site. It's taking out the guesswork, isn't it?
Well, they've got the pictures, and I will stress the fact that probably the reason why I did this, because I saw thresholds, external balcony thresholds leak for 40 years and nobody was doing it. And yet I was putting end caps on and sealing them and having a set down 45 years ago. And I'm thinking, why isn't this industry practice? So the highest risk, in my opinion, look, if you fail with a shower waterproofing, it can easily cost you $35,000 to $50,000. But the most commonly occurring defect over my history has been threshold doors and external waterproofing. Then second is shower waterproofing. Now we're getting into fire stopping and other issues that are extremely expensive to fix up for what is often no additional cost to get the correct install.
And it's not funny, but it's the things we're talking about where we've got the high risk, where you've got the red alert dots. They're probably the sections of building homes and buildings in Australia that they're not inspected. They're just compliance certificate in Victoria. I know different states have different ways, but say your bell rating, we're not really inspecting how we're setting up our ember guards and stuff like that. It's just signed off by the builder, and it said, yep, energy efficiency, waterproofing. That's the scary part still, I think, for Australian home buyers and owners, that if you've picked the wrong person that's not building to code, they're building something that's illegal. And that's the crazy thing. We've said it before on Build Insite Podcast, that our building standards that we've got and the NCC, it's our minimums. It's nothing more.
I need to jump in here for a minute, guys, and take a moment to thank our sponsors, Backman Builders, Calorie Building and Build Imagery. Without the support of these businesses, the Build Insite podcast wouldn't be possible. So jump over and show the support for them so they can continue to support the Build Insite podcast.
But quite often it's just either lack of knowledge, and if the people know that the ember guard has to go in and that it changes for the 5 different bowels, What I will point out to all of your listeners there, that we don't even know what the surface roughness should be for a concrete slab we're applying our waterproofing on. We don't even know what primer we should be using. We don't even know how to clean the pummel flange to make sure that a non-porous primer, because you can't use the same primer for concrete. So I'm sure that all of the listeners that are listening to this is all part of the new craft of the science of making sure that our waterproofing works. Now, it's not hard. It's just a question of transfer of knowledge to the people, and try, you guys especially, the thought leaders, getting the antennas up from the desensitized tradies out there who will always be average unless they start looking for the craftsman knowledge that makes a difference.
Very good. Jerry, would you say, is this more building tools more aimed at builders, guys on site currently, or would you recommend this is a really good tool for designers to use in the early stages as well?
It's a fantastic tool for everybody around the actual task. The designers, very few of them look, that's unfair. Often they're very curious, but often they haven't had the chance, like I have, to work as a tradesman, to work on site and to be site dominated. So the designers are great. But I'm going to shamelessly say to all of the contractors out there, whether you're a licensed builder, a class 2 to 9 level tradesman, it's all about the work being done. So the person designing it can double check. They won't understand it, but they'll double check that the head flashing needs to extend 150. They will know that they've got a detail that shows the exact height of the accessible shower. They will understand if it's an SDA requirement or a 1428 door clearance. They will understand the swing of a fire door into a landing has to be the 500 millimeters from the handrail. There are just thousands of things that we don't know that you can accessibly grab if you want to go looking for it.
I think we might need to in the future somehow, Jerry. I think we're going to have to put a few videos together and put something on YouTube, I think, with some screen share stuff, because I feel like the listeners on the podcast, if you're just listening to it on just an audio streaming at the moment, not watching it on something like YouTube, they're seriously going to miss out on exactly what this looks like. Because I know I spent a good couple of hours scrolling through the platform last night and clicking on the pictures and zooming in, and it is absolutely phenomenal, the detail that your resources go into.
You bothered to do it. So getting back to what you were saying, it is for the MIP. The most important person is the person doing the job. Everybody else who's taking responsibility or being blamed for their work, sure. But the person doing the job double checks, it's a 1 point. You know what the weep hole spacing is? And I've only found one tradesman in about 50 who knew it. It's a 5-course rule. So it's 1.2 meters. So that should become standard practice. But there might be 10,000 of those easy to access rules. So if you don't keep it in your brain, because I'm getting too old, Dean, you were saying you don't keep the numbers there. But if it's the numbers that we didn't grasp from our TAFE courses or uni courses, it's in tools. You can double check it. And then also, I always push, there's a lovely little share link there. So you can send it off to the guy who's there whilst you guys are doing this podcast or possibly changing the industry forever.
And you can't fault, obviously, I think there's still in the industry, guys, there's not a cohesion, generally speaking. I mean, we talk about working early onset with pre-construction and collaborating with designers and, you have that communication with the engineers and everything. But I still think we've got a big bridge to cross where it comes down to where everybody is cohesively working together. There's definitely still in the industry that's, raw, where you've got trades be like, that's right, that's the builder's problem, or the designer might put on the plan, to the builder's finish, or, make good. How many times have we seen that on renovations, extensions? If we read that again, make good. It's like, well, who's to say make good is going to meet the minimum requirements if the builder doesn't know what sort of regulation might be for a setback or something like that? So, yeah, I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I'm excited about with what you've done with tools, Jerry, is it's giving another tool, so to speak, in our pockets that everyone can get access to. And I think what we're definitely looking to encourage is those relationships with our designers to, really put these into plans as well. Like, there's no reason why they can't take your PDF of it and put it onto a plan for a waterproofing detail. I think that'd be fantastic.
Well, we also have Spec Tools. So Spec Tools allows you to load a spec block into your specification. In actual fact, and I don't want to be too controversial today, specifications is a chaotic restatement of what is already being issued. It's all the contract documents plus the schedule and details. And yet we've got another layer called specifications that's written, nobody finds, it's out of date, not updated, instead of having a different form, which is the updated drawings, the detail, the schedules updated, and then the site meetings where everybody gets an hourly rate to come and resolve the highly complex things that end up as a defect claim that I have to defend you guys in and I get paid for. It's just a ridiculous mess. But so, for instance, make good. We'll have a make good tool, but there's no craftsman that I know that would leave an ugly, straight crooked when it had to be straightened. There'd be nobody that I know that wouldn't install an angle or chat to the architect and say, do you want the angle painted? Do you, there's just nobody who would leave it sloppy. And they would string a line when they saw cut it down. They wouldn't just rough cut it. So these are the sort of things that I just want to be effortlessly into the industry. Ironically, it's what we have to do anyway, but we make a lot of money from it. We save a lot of time. The whinging from the productivity people, we will be able to pay the unionists more because there are less mistakes, and we don't have to then pay the ghosts that are leading to excessive cost, and Australia being one of the most unproductive, expensive building industries in the world.
I'm going to continue a little bit on with that sort of similar topic then, Jerry. This is a very interesting topic, and it's okay to have a bit of a different opinion on it. Where do you see the industry at the moment with the recent NCC changes? What's your take on the new changes? Do you think there should be more? Are you happy with where it's at, or what do you think about that being introduced?
I think they're good evolutionary changes, but it's essentially they're going into a document that is, I'm a real fan of the NCC, but I think it's about 1 out of 10 because of the state versions and because of the inaccessibility. So we're putting new information mainly to do with external waterproofing and falls in substrates and terminations, which is great. It's overdue. It's what I've been doing for 45 years, but it's now prescribed. We can't put thin bed toppings in, which is great. So there's so many good things there, but you still need to go into the NCC. You need to follow the document trail to the reference document. You've got to get one of your people to do that when you're not there. And the whole food chain is just confused for what should just be a diagram that's NCC 25 compliant, that shows the 184, that shows the water stop angle ends, that ideally, Dean, we have a process where those two water stop angles photos are captured and stored in the document register that should be easily there, done once. And the certifier doesn't even need to come out on site. He just basically looks and sees those particular verifications of the NCC 25 compliant. Good intention, but there's a lot of blah, blah, blah about how us as workers are going to find this, apply it, and keep a record of it without the continuation of the $50 billion worth of chaos in the industry each year.
Well, I think the easiest way that people can find it, because I know you did touch on accessibility there, Jerry, is, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, for the listeners out there, the easiest way that you can find all this is to get on the Tools app. Because I've noticed every detail that you go into, there's direct links to the NCC there. So you don't need to actually worry about getting the full volume itself and then searching through trying to find the right one. If you know the sort of area of the building that you're looking for, it's as simple as going through the Tools app, clicking on the picture, and there's a direct link to it. It'll take you straight to that information. So hats off to you, mate. I know I keep saying that, but it is seriously, for the listeners out there, get onto it and go and check it out for yourself, because you won't believe how good it is until you see it.
Thank you, Luke. And I'll reinforce, I'm dealing with real people, and it's not a contest to me because I'm an identical twin and every human being is really important to me. A lot of people don't know squat. Now, I've been pushing for water stop angles to be fixed down. I don't mind if they're not on anchors. Okay, I don't care. As long as they're fixed down, the heads are wiped with sealant, the edges are, the sealant is, those sort of things. That's shown on tools. So you're having a fight with the waterproofer. It might be old school. I've done it for 50 years. And then you also want to reinforce. Now, we haven't done all of this yet, but one of my good quality contacts in the industry said that there's a solvent that you can use to wipe down the puddle flange. I want to put it on there. I've also been told that we don't need to put a fillet on the inside angle, the inside of a water stop angle, which I didn't know. So my drawings are wrong. I'm showing a fillet on the inside. They say membranes don't fail there. But they also said you must have a non-porous primer on your angle. Over time, the leaders, that's you two, Darren, and everybody else who's listening to this is probably going to go to Mapai or Durham, and you're going to push them for a universal sealer that will go over all substrates. So these are the sort of things, but if you start off the right way, going to tools which looks at 3740 and the external waterproofing standard, combines all the issues into the one illustration, so you can double check it, and then you can also show it to somebody else on site who's some sort of, I call them know-it-not-alls. The people who, I've done it the whole, we've heard it all. So, but I've heard it from craftsmen who told me 4-pound or 2 kilogram lead in cavities. Clean out bricks at the base of every wall, not just a weep hole, make it a clean out brick, lay it in sand. So these are the sort of things that I want just in culture. We make more money. It's faster. And we have defect-free culture in Australia because of people like you.
Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insite team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insite podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.